Holla, holla, holla. What's up, creeps? Back again for another fun-filled venture video. And as I promised last week, today we are going to be getting into episode number 2 of season number 6, entitled Maybe No Go. One of, maybe not my favorite episodes overall, but, I don't know, this one and The Invisible Hand of Fate from season 3, that's, the backstory of Billy and Pete, and this episode hold very close to me because I love Billy and Pete to no end. And this is the only other episode that really gives them their own story that doesn't rely on Rusty and the boys and everyone else. This one, like The Invisible Hand of Fate, they get their own story. Even though it's not the entire episode, they get their own story that ties them into this brand new New York story. Which, to be honest, initially I was very nervous wasn't even going to happen. Because there were so many characters that didn't fucking make it back, you know, like Dr. Orpheus, the rest of the triad, and, you know, that kind of sucked to me because Al, Jefferson, and Dr. Orpheus are some of my favorite characters in the show, and it does kind of blow that they still are on the sidelines, but at the same time, at least we got Billy and Pete back in this episode. Alright, let's get into it. So it starts with Pete and Master Billy Quizboy dealing with their own archenemy, as we all know, is Augustus St. Cloud. And his demand of them is that they sell Conjectural Technologies, their company. Because what else do they really have other than their business, Conjectural Technologies, the successful startup that almost got Billy's soul stolen. And I guess they really didn't do anything that bad for Pete. It got him his Guitar Hero games and his Robo-Bo, who actually makes a little surprise appearance in the beginning of this episode, too. I don't know if you're a fan of Robo-Bo. But the best part of this is definitely the opening that we get in this episode from Billy Quizboy and the Pink Pilgrim. Honestly, one of my favorite aspects of this show is the fucking title sequences that are constantly fiddled around with, and I mean 9 times out of 10 it's just the main intro just toyed around with a little bit because they're obsessive compulsive. But this one is a completely different one. It's just like a 70s or 80s like A-Team type show with fucking like, and in the intro it shows Billy and Pete fighting against like a Truckosaurus. Fucking shows Robo-Bo going on these fake adventures. Who even knows if they're fake adventures? Maybe they did happen and they just were never on screen. But you know, I tend to doubt that because Billy, Pete, and St. Cloud are all very incapable, I guess is the most delicate way that I can put it. And this episode, I think, is the biggest one that really highlights it. Because, like I was talking about in The Invisible Hand of Fate, like, at least we see some character from the two of them. But in the flashbacks, we get to see that Billy isn't quite as spineless as they kind of made it seem like he is. But that was in The Invisible Hand of Fate. In this episode, we really are shown how incapable these characters are of leading the story on their own. But that's, like, 100% of the charm in the episode. I mean, if they did more than one episode like this, it probably wouldn't have been as amazing as it was, but it was fucking amazing. Because if you think about it from where they ended up going in this is pretty much just showing you just how low-level Guild and OSI work is. I mean, it's just like any other low-level work. It's just boring. The people aren't as good at doing it, so they don't get fucking paid as much. They don't get as much, well, not that St. Cloud needs it, but, you know, it's just a cheaper, like, shittier version of what we're used to getting, and I think that this pretty much perfectly paints that, because in the end, when St. Cloud wins in this beginning, they end up fucking delaying the arching where he defeats them. It took a certain time because they have a bunch of stuff that they flaked on and dental appointments. So you can just see how fucking not into this shit all of these characters are. I mean, like I said, like, the entire story here is, like, there's really nothing happening, but at the same time, that can lead to some of the best Venture Bros stories a lot of the time, because, I don't know, it's just really interesting when they write stories kind of just based around characters and there's nothing really going on other than you peeling back the layers of characters, especially ones you don't really get that much depth on, such as Billy and Pete. And St. Cloud specifically. He is the worst archvillain in the world. When they finally show up at his place, he fucking buzzes them in. Not only does he buzz them in, but invites them in while he's taking a shower. And the most awful thing he could think of to do is wash himself with I don't know if you were a Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood fan, but the Henrietta Pussycat puppet from Mr. Rogers that apparently Billy must have been decently large fan of the Neighborhood and Mr. Rogers, but that wasn't quite enough to bring him down low enough to the level of selling their most valued conjectural technologies. Oh no. We had to get another sequence that mirrors the music video of Is There Something I Should Know by Duran Duran, which they also fucking completely mirror in the way that they set up, the wipes and the transitions and everything in the actual episode. And fucking, this is the straw that breaks the camel's back, figuratively and, well, not really literally because there are no camels, but this is what makes Billy break and finally sell the prized conjectural technologies, because, if Duran Duran had never put out that amazing video for Is There Something I Should Know, then there never would have been any Enter the Wu-Tang. There never would have been any System of a Down. They started... I don't know exactly how it would have... I think... I'm not 100% familiar with the music video, but I think that the ball was... give me a second. I'm going to look this up. Because the music video, from me watching it, is pretty much just them singing the song. But I'm not a huge Duran Duran fan. So I'm just looking into it right now. And apparently, the music video is a mashup of a bunch of old music videos that they did with a bunch of weird... Well, yeah, obviously a bunch of surreal images in there. But apparently, I think that the red ball is supposed to be an implement of time travel. And that he would have... I mean, St. Cloud can't do anything. I don't know why he believed he would have been able to go back in time and stop this song from being written, or this music video from being made, but apparently he was scared enough of it that he sold the fucking... He broke down and sold conjectural technologies for that fucking ball. So, it kind of seemed to me, initially, when I was watching this, like this was maybe going to be a little bit of a pause button to push on the story thread with Billy and Pete, but very excitingly, in the end of the episode, in the post-credit scene, where we usually get a lot of this exciting information, Billy and Pete discover that Doc Venture is indeed the one that has bought their company back from St. Cloud, and he has hired them to move to New York and work for them. Because throughout this whole episode, we've seen how Dr. Venture has some pretty questionable science credentials, but because, he graduated because his dear old died, but his experiments can actually work sometimes, like we've seen in this episode, that the company isn't really doing too well, but there are some things that could work that we end up seeing later on, and that's what the Billy and Pete stories end up being. But Billy and Pete themselves are horrible scientists and don't really help out too much, which is probably the real reason that Doc Venture wants them around. Because he doesn't have any friends other than them, and it seems like he'll take whatever he can get. And I guess for the fans and for Rusty, it's the best thing possible, because we get to continue the story with Billy and Pete, and Doc gets to continue his life with Billy and Pete. Alright, well, until next week, this has been Return to the Ventureverse with Doc Fugit. And as always, if you would like to return and hear some more of the dulcet tones of my voice, we'll be back for another episode of the podcast tomorrow, and another episode of Storytime on Friday. And once again, if any of you guys have listened to my story, or the intro to my story, The Pernicious Portrait, some feedback on that would be much appreciated. And if you haven't listened to it yet, please go check out the episode on here called, well, if you want to download it, you can go on to iTunes, Spotify, wherever, and download our podcast, Pernicious Thoughts, or the newest story time with the Grimm's Fairy Tales. Both of them, the last 8 minutes is the introduction of the Pernicious Portrait. And take a wild guess what my main influences, or some of my main influences for writing are. Since I'm so obsessed with making these Venture Brothers videos, that should be enough. But it really would mean the world to me, creeps. But, I mean, if you can't spare the time, then I'll see you again next week for another Venture vid. Till then, creeps.